Well, welcome back to BVarsity Live. I'm Zach Ewing. That's Stan Green. And over here, I'm sorry, that's Trevor. I'm not going to be able to stop smiling all day because of that. Stan, I heard you like donuts.
You're going to get into that again?
Look at that. We even got your name up there.
Oh,
John!
No, okay. Just if you just joined us, that is Trevor Horn over there. But he did say he wanted to play the role of devil's advocate as the public school representative in this discussion.
Just because Stan was not able to
Yeah,
show,
and I think that's-
and obviously we don't want to sit here and look like we're biased against two high schools compared to the 17 high schools
Right.
that the current high school district
And
has.
we're not.
And we're not doing
Yeah.
that. But this is an argument that needs to be had.
Yeah.
This is a discussion that needs to be come up because it is contentious.
And I think we know both Joan and Blake, and I think you guys understand the concerns of a public school administrator versus a private school when it comes to athletics. Look, a private school, yes, your enrollments are much lower, but you get kind of the pick of the litter as far as you get great kids. You know, you have 500 great kids each, and it's terrific to see some of them play and everything. But when you have an enrollment of 3,000 that Bakersfield High has, they don't get that same caliber of kid. And obviously, in some cases, the kids have to live somewhere. They live in a public school district somewhere, and instead of going to that public school, which in this case, the current high school district encompasses all of that area, they're going to either Bakersfield Christian or Garces. And so it's this argument that we don't want to play in a league against a star player who should be playing for our team. Let's say he should be going to Liberty district. I say should. I mean, he lives in the Liberty district, or she, and is going to Garces and then beats Liberty in a big match. It's frustrating for a coach or an athletic director from that school to say, boy, it'd be nice if that kid was playing on our team. And that's sort of the crux of the elephant in the room that we talked about, of the public versus private. How do you respond to that? And I know this is not unique to Bakersfield in any way, shape, or form. This is an argument we have across the country. But basically, I think the arena should allow for both schools, right? I mean, it should. Either one of you can.
Well, as a parent, I have the right to send my child to any school that I see
Right.
fit for my child. So be it the public school, be it a private school, even though I'm a taxpayer, I feel that if a parent truly believes that Garces or BCHS is a better fit for their child, there shouldn't be a repercussion for that choice. You know, there shouldn't be this private versus public, and it shouldn't be because I live in that neighborhood that I need to attend that school. And if I attend the private school, that private school is going to have some kind of blowback from the public school.
And kids go to different schools for all sorts of different
reasons.
Sometimes it is athletics, I think. I think it's fair to
Absolutely.
say. But sometimes it's academic. Sometimes there's a group of other kids that the parents don't want them hanging out with at a specific school, or a group they do want them hanging out with at another school. And so, go ahead, Trevor.
Well, the current high school district obviously has a rule in place that is different than the rest of the central section. That if a full family move goes from the boundaries of one high school to the boundaries of another, that student is then eligible for any extracurricular activity right immediately because of that. But within that same rule, that student is then allowed immediately to participate in extracurricular activities at either one of your high schools.
And that's because the private school's enrollment area is all of Bakersfield.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the argument then from the current high school district, I'm sure, would be, well, then how they being Garces and Bakersfield Christian, then have the opportunity to, I don't know if you want to use the word poach or approach those students about coming over to those high schools. What's your argument towards that and the numbers of kids that you actually get that actually come to Garces or Bakersfield Christian under that elephant or that umbrella?
Well, I think this debate's going to happen to the end of time, private and public school. I don't think. I mean, if Joan probably feels the same way. If we win, then it's all because of this, and it's because of that. And if we lose, well, it's because they weren't doing this or doing that. But I just feel like, I thought it was the boundaries were unfair previously, that we were all at Bakersfield, and now that they are changed, we haven't seen a big difference as far as we had 6 transfers this past year, so we haven't seen a big total.
6,
and it was put up PowerPoint at the first CIF meeting we had. So it's not like Joan and I are bringing in 35 to 40 student just athletes. So I think no matter what, I just feel like like Joan said, that if a parent has the right to send their kid to the school they feel is the best fit for their kid.
Do you
Well, and
feel
let's
that
be honest
sometime-
too. I mean, and Joan, you brought this up off the air, but even with both schools offer financial aid, but even with financial aid, every family does not have the option of attending
No.
private school. So
No.
it's not like it's an across the board option.
No, no.
Well, and it's not just that. It's we also live in the shadow of the southern section, which has rampant transfers throughout. But I'm going to use a word that Roger Blake used on our show 2 years ago when he talked about the sandbox. Their sandbox is much larger than your sandbox as well. So, they run rampant where you guys don't really run rampant. But do you feel like that is a big issue that should divide the Kern High School District between the two private schools in town? Joan?
I agree with Blake. I don't think the numbers are proving what they're trying to argue. It would be one thing if Blake and I were pulling this influx, these large numbers of transfers or kids coming into our schools. But as you said at the beginning, I have 531 students at my school, and he's at 490 something. So that defense isn't very powerful in my end. Very similar to Blake, I didn't get a lot of transfers this year. I had 2 kids that transferred in on the new full family move, and that's been it. So their concerns about us monopolizing the kids in this area, I don't think is a strong defense and a strong argument to not have the private schools as part of the Yosemite League.
Right.
And 2 of those total transfers you had were our children of coaches that are previously on your campus.
Yes.
So that's another kind of.
I want to bring up
factor.
another point too, Joan. I want to allow you to defend your comments as well, if you would. You said yesterday that when given the opportunity, that you would rather have Delano than Bakersfield Christian in the SYL if you were moved down there. Can you elaborate a little bit more and give us a little bit more
That
insight?
comment was made at a meeting at the district office when the district showed me for the first time their proposals. They put in front of me 2 proposals. You saw them both if you were at the meeting. 2 of the proposals that the district put in. The second one wasn't really spoken about very much yesterday, and that was a proposal that came from the Highland principal, where they were looking at bringing in a 4th league into the conference, and that 4th league would include Garces, BCHS, Cesar Chavez, Kennedy, and Delano.
3 Delano schools.
Those 3
and the 2
Delano
of you.
schools, and both BCHS and I would travel to Delano 3 times.
3 out of every 4 road games.
Yeah.
in the
3
league,
out of every 4 road games. So when the vote went around the room for us to decide if I were in the SYL versus the SWYL, would I want BCHS or Delano? Well, my concern was if I bring on BCHS, are they going to bring in this 4th league and I'm going to be traveling to Delano? So I didn't feel that the options I had were reasonable. So I selected Delano with the concern that that second proposal would be something that they would try to implement. That they would say, sure, we'll bring on BCHS, sure, we'll bring on Delano, and we'll develop this whole 4th league.
Yeah, and I think that that was, and again, we'll have Stan on at some point and
Yeah.
kind of let him say his piece when it fits in his schedule. But it just sort of looks like this. Well, let's get rid of all the private schools and all the Delano schools. Let's make them go together so we don't have to make a road trip or play a private school. I mean,
Well-
that's what it looks like.
And that was
From
the
the outside.
implementation. That was
Yeah.
the message I kind of heard, because I've also heard from the district that the principals are not interested. They're not willing to have 2 private schools within the conference, let alone in the same league. Now, why that is, maybe that is the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know if Blake, when he had that conversation with Stan, if Stan elaborated anymore on why, that the district isn't willing to bring BCHS in. To me, Garces has no problem having BCHS in a league with us. We would very much welcome that idea, but not with the understanding that we would travel to Delano 3 times. That's not reasonable.
And,
Well,
and
let me
Blake,
put up
you'd
the
be
number.
fine with Garces in a league as long as it didn't also include Delano schools, I think.
Correct.
Right,
I
yeah.
mean, we're pretty much playing each other in almost every sport now,
Right.
Garces and us. So Joan and I have a great relationship. I mean, there's no problem with that. But yeah,
Well-
traveling Delano's not going to happen.
Let's look at the numbers really quickly. If you look at, say, the SYL, say it happens that they choose Ridgeview over Garces, and you're moved to the SYL, you come into the SYL, you're going up against Golden Valley, 2,400 kids. Independence, 2,072 kids. West, 2,028 kids. They put you in this fourth league. Chavez, 1,345. These are all seabeds on the Central Section website, and I'm not counting Tehachapi because they're not in the Central. Actually,
They're in the this is Seabed's last year's enrollment numbers. I
yes,
think, right? Yeah.
Delano 1,589, Kennedy 1,121. But yet you guys don't have a problem going up against schools 4 to 5 times your enrollment.
And again, that's a private
But
versus public
it
thing
is,
too.
yeah.
I think. One more
But
thing
I'm
I
also
wanted to ask
talking
you.
about. But I'm also talking about 500 to 1,000 difference between the two, the
Absolutely.
enrollments of the public schools in either league.
Yeah. Before I want to kind of let you guys have a final word before we go, but I did want to bring up one more point, and this is sort of more of a what's the word? Fantastical idea that I've heard bandied about. And this is really the extreme as far as separating private schools. People say, well, why don't you put Garces, BCHS, CVC, Emmanuel, Fresno Christian, and San Joaquin Memorial in a league? Obviously, travel-wise, that's a problem. Although there are leagues in the southern section that travel 2 hours to league games. It does happen. Is that something you have even heard proposed or that you would even think about for a second?
I mean, we've heard it talked about, but like you said, traveling. I mean, that's the reason we want to get in the Bakersfield League is to keep kids in class,
Right.
and not traveling. I mean, that's if Joan and I are traveling to San Joaquin Memorial with a frost-off boys basketball team. I mean, they're going to leave at noon.
Yeah.
And the financial
And
burden would be
and
extremely
transportation
heavy.
costs. And
Well,
it's-
and then if you are only taking one bus or 2 vans, then maybe you're asking that frost-off team that played at 4:30 to then leave school at noon and then maybe not come back until
Midnight.
midnight.
yeah,
I mean, if that's the biggest argument that we have, shush.
yeah.
Joan, any thoughts on that?
I mean, yes, it's been proposed to me. I just ditto Blake here. The time away. Most of the students at our school they're AP kids, they're honor kids. These are CP kids. These are kids that parents sent them there for the rigors of the education that they're getting, and to have that loss of class time is a detriment to them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not responsible as educators. We wouldn't be responsible in our
And
jobs.
I think just my opinion, if I can interject, it's just, like at that point, I agree. You're putting athletics above academics at
Yes.
that point because you're saying you're so afraid of competing against private
Right.
schools in athletics that you're going to harm kids' academic
Correct.
futures.
Boom. That's
Correct.
that's the end of the argument right
Yeah.
now. Is that we're dealing with a bunch of adult issues that have to do with kids.
So
Yes.
before we go, we're basically out of time in the segment, but I do want to give you guys one more chance, just quickly. Any further thoughts? Any closing thoughts on the league realignment process? We'll start with Joan.
I want to thank just my area supervisor, the CIF, Jim Crutchlow. The process, I think, in the end, it's something that he started the meeting yesterday saying it's not personal, it's business. This is business, and it's for the betterment of the students. It's for the betterment of the Bakersfield community that we establish leagues that foster exactly what we're trying to do as educators, and that's succeed, make sure our kids have everything they need to succeed in our community. And I think making sure that we put everything in a position for them to succeed is important.
Blake, a final thought?
Yeah, I mean, the commissioners don't have an easy job. I mean, that's not an easy position to put them in to choose these leagues. But like Joan said, it's about the kids. It's about the students. It's about the communities, the schools. I mean, our kids have a lot of friends. For us moving to the SYL, our students have friends at Independence, at Ridgeview, at those SYL schools that they love to. Can you imagine these games? I mean, the excitement around the games, the packed house, and it's not just about the athletes, it's about the student body going to the games and enjoying the games and making sure we keep our kids in class as long as they can. And we just feel like that's the best situation for BCHS to be in the SYL.
Well, we told you guys 2:30, and we're already running over, so we'll say thank you. Joan Finch, Garces Athletic Director, Blake Vanderschaft, Bakersfield Christian Athletic Director. Thank you so much for being here and coming. I know some of the questions aren't easy and some of the answers aren't easy, certainly, but we do appreciate you coming on and being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
And we're going to shift completely to another direction, but have another sort of controversial argument. We're talking refereeing.
We're not making any friends today, but
Football refereeing coming up next year on BVarsity Live. We're back after this.